Greetings and a warm welcome to our weekly episode of the Flourishing Fridays podcast, hosted here on E-Radio. And today I'm intrigued to chat more with Julia Tew of the Circular Stage Consultancy, no doubt about another topic relating to the fine art of flourishing. So I will just hand it over to you, Julia, without any further delay. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ian. And it's good to be here again and to have the opportunity to discuss all manner of interesting topics with you, as you say. And given that I love storytelling so much, I'm going to kick off today's podcast with another story, this time entitled A Tale of Two Cities. So welcome to Greensville and Maximus, two cities, two philosophies, and two very different ways of life. Greensville is what we call a 15-minute city, where life moves at a comfortable pace, and pretty much everything can be easily reached by a 15-minute walk, a bike ride, or bus ride. Imagine waking up to the sound of birds instead of blaring traffic. Kids in Greensville don't travel in cars to school. They walk or cycle, weaving their way through safe, pedestrian-friendly streets, once clogged with cars, but now filled with happy throngs of people walking, talking, and simply being. Greensville's streets are lined with small family-owned stores and markets selling fresh, locally grown produce and handmade goods. In Greensville, people value time, making a point to catch up with neighbors at the local coffee shop, to browse the farmer's market on a Saturday, or to stroll down to the lender's library to borrow a chainsaw or a sewing machine. They value relationships more than things. It's a city that moves with the pace of the seasons. People here don't obsess over what they don't own. They appreciate what they have and know it's enough. When lunchtime rolls around, the local restaurants offer slow food that's seasonal, local, and delicious. Meals are shared, not rushed. The air here is fresher, and waterways sparkle, thanks to business and community efforts to keep them clean and vibrant. The people of Greensville are also future-focused. Volunteer groups work on emergency response plans. Local repair shops give old items new life. And urban gardens spring up wherever there's sunshine. They're ready for climate change here in Greenville, designing and building infrastructure that can handle heat waves, drought, or floods. Stress and disease are rare, replaced by high levels of well-being and connectedness, a precious type of resilience you can't buy at any price. Now, let's visit Maximus, a city that runs on the rocket fuel of growth and speed. In Maximus, the skyline is always reaching higher. Roads are always being widened. Every space is optimized for one thing: more. The residents here commute for miles on sprawling highways and sit in traffic jams listening to depressing news on the radio. Everything in Maximus is commercial. Every block, a sea of chain stores. Every corner, a fast food restaurant. There are no slow strolls, only frantic sprints to the next obligation. Maximus's children ride to school in the back seats of minivans and SUVs, barely glancing out of the window and always pressed for time. Few people here know their neighbors or even want to. Friendships come with a LinkedIn connection and a promise to meet for coffee sometime. Stress is the city's heartbeat, a constant pulse that keeps things moving but never lets people rest. Mental health struggles are common, and so are quick fixes. Food arrives fast, but at a cost, imported from miles away with the taste of convenience rather than care. Maximus doesn't have time for preparations. It's too focused on expansion to worry about climate resilience. floods happen here, storms hit hard, and recovery is always a scramble, but that's just like the city itself. Nature feels distant, reserved for TV screens and overseas vacations, while the waterways are filled with more plastic than fish. Maximus is a place where people are always searching, racing to achieve more, rarely satisfied, and often burnt out. In the end, the tale of Greensville and Maximus isn't just about two cities, it's about choice and balance. One town took the time to live well. The other took time only to move fast and grow. And while the bright lights of Maximus may be dazzling, it's Greensville's quiet, connected neighborhoods that remind us of what we truly need: a place to breathe, a community to belong to, and the space to simply be. The end. So, Ian, now that you've heard the story of the day, what is your impression of our two cities? And which one would you prefer to live in if you had a choice? And you're welcome to be honest.
First of all, Julia, beautifully written. I could actually see it the way you described it. I was seeing this beautiful mental picture in my mind of Greensville especially. And, I'm actually seeing, I was sort of living in Greensville at one stage, by the way, and it sort of turned into Maximus over the years, which I didn't like.
Yep, that happens.
Yep, so I would like to just go back to Greensville, without the Maximus, please.
Okay. Well, I'm pleased to hear that because, as you probably guessed, I'm kind of right there with you in preferring kind of life that you would get in a city like Greensville. But as you say, if we take a long, hard look at where society is going or where society's preferences seem to be these days, it's more on the side of Maximus in many cases. Over the centuries, especially our industrialized cities have become more and more like Maximus. And there are a lot of contributing factors involved, some of which I'm going to dip into today. So if you think of when we were kids, many of us grew up listening to stories and watching movies and cartoons, reading history books, and seeing the grown-ups in our lives all support the idea that bigger, faster, stronger are the elements we humans need to be better, to win the race, to win the war, to beat the baddies, and to come out on top, to be number one, to be the greatest of all time. And almost every superhero we're introduced to models this theory. Even if developing superhuman strength and speed and agility means having to get bitten by a spider or struck by lightning or electrocuted. And then we have TV series and makeover shows glamorizing bigger houses, bigger bank accounts, and flashier lifestyles. And there are millions of ads encouraging us to drive faster cars, bigger SUVs, and to aspire to owning luxurious private jets or super yachts. And if we look at things like Netflix or even in real life, the modern workplace is also dominated by this winner-takes-all kind of vibe. It's a dog-eat-dog competitive environment. We see pinstriped colleagues trying to stab each other in the back when they're climbing the corporate ladder and trying to join those hallowed ranks of the elite on the top floor. Social media reinforces this theme, as we are all too keen to buy into the rags to riches stories of celebrities and pop stars. And the entertainment industry also feeds this insatiable appetite we have for glamour and fame and fortune, fashion, status, scandal, and all the rest. I don't know if you like video games, Ian, but video games like Grand Theft Auto and Need for Speed reward us for these high-speed chases and always leveling up, reinforcing that idea that faster is more powerful, and more power means greater success, greater recognition. So at the end of the day, almost from the day we were born, Ian, we're all being persuaded to live our lives to the max. We are being led to lead the Maximus lifestyle. And don't get me wrong, I have got nothing against progress, as the Americans call it, or success, or striving to do well, or even having substantial personal wealth or status. Listen, I play the lottery. But what I've come to realize over the years is that being number one very often comes at the expense of someone or something else, especially when it's fueled by this win against all odds kind of attitude. I mean, today is a very classic day for this kind of conversation, because if you just look and see what's going on on the political stage worldwide, and particularly in the US, where we've just received the results of the presidential election, we pretty much get a taste for this win against all odds kind of attitude, don't we, Ian?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you knew about this beforehand, but it actually goes quite well with what's happening in the world right now. So it's a very topical subject today. But yeah, the speed thing, and let's not even go into the violence that it kind of teaches our children in Grand Theft Auto, for example, where it's okay to knock someone over the head and just take their car. That's another story. That's one for another day.
Very true, very true. It kind of normalizes it.
Yep.
And almost goes hand in hand. Well, if speed is okay and power is okay, perhaps violence is also okay. And it does become normalized in a way, which is quite worrying, especially with our youth. But so, yes, I think there is disappointment and there is alarm with the results of the US presidential elections, because we heard it during the election campaigns that this newly elected president will be focusing on bigger, better, faster, greater, make America great again, America first. And all of these principles are prioritizing rapid expansion of the US economy, the US military. It's fueling ambitions to be the leading global superpower, regardless of any of the consequences that we can expect. And you only have to read the media to know what kind of consequences I think we can all expect. But yeah, maximization might well be the dominant narrative coming out of the US. It's also coming out of other developed nations. It's not just the US, but it's also not just politicians. It's also prominent business and media figures. Again, we go back to the US here, because I cannot not bring up someone like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. We just can't get more hugely ambitious than what some of these guys are wanting to do. I mean, colonizing Mars, creating a virtual reality world to live in, building underground bunkers in New Zealand, building massive space stations in space for us to live in one day, because conditions on Earth might become too hostile for us to survive. It's just, it's exhausting sometimes. And yes, some of these massive projects can sound impressive because they promise things like innovation and technology, expansion and progress. But at the same time, we have to look at the other side of the coin and know for sure that their environmental and social impacts are raising significant and growing concerns about the long-term impact and costs to this planet. I mean, look at the space race that they've been on again. Rushing to commercialize space travel and space exploration is filling our atmosphere with more black carbon, more carbon emissions, more pollutants from rocket launches, and it's sending more hazardous space debris into orbit, which is putting our satellites at risk. Heaven knows what else. Because I think the other day there was a piece of space junk that came flying out of the atmosphere and landed in the Cape, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
But what about these massive artificial intelligence models. I mean, I know there's a lot of debate around AI, and I'm not going to go into it today, but these huge data centers belonging to companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft use so much water to cool their servers and so much energy to run that many of these companies are actually investing in their own nuclear energy plants to stay in operation. So we're going to see these little mini nuclear power plants popping up by these data centers, which all, I mean, again, nuclear comes with its own debate, but we'll cover that another day. And what about all these high-tech Maximus type of accessories that we've all become completely reliant on and addicted to, from smartphones to electric cars? They are cool and wonderful and do the most amazing things. We cannot lose sight of the fact that they require intensive mining and manufacturing processes that release huge amounts of carbon into the atmosphere and put huge strain on our local ecosystems as well. If you look at the mineral-rich areas that are being mined for their special minerals, like the DRC for cobalt, or Chile for lithium batteries, it's the local communities who are suffering incredibly from things like pollution, water scarcity, their water's getting poisoned from the mining, and serious health problems that are caused by these mining activities, not to mention that there are a lot of illegal and dangerous labor practices going on out of sight, but they're there, like things like child labor. So these things are tragically common. We just don't often get to see them. And what about all this wonderful fast food that has become ubiquitous in today's lifestyle? You know, so fast-paced, don't have time to shop, don't have time to cook, not a problem, we'll order in. Well, all this food needs to be processed and shipped around the countries to cities like Maximus, to down the road from where we live. And those fast food industries need to be supplied by things like the industrial agriculture sector, which is rapidly growing and is responsible also for large-scale environmental destruction and biodiversity loss. Those, in turn, are the things that are fueling our superstorms, like the hurricanes we've been seeing and the massive flooding we've seen literally in the past few weeks, and driving huge species extinction. So if we look at something like deforestation, roughly 80% of deforestation in our dear Amazon rainforest, the lungs of this planet, 80% of deforestation there is linked to cattle ranching for meat production, for your McDonald's hamburgers. 80%. So in Brazil, which is one of the world's biggest beef exporters, indigenous forests of the Amazon are being cleared to make room for cattle pastures, either through burning them, which of course comes with a whole lot of side effects, or what's happening now, you won't believe it, they are spraying the trees with a toxic chemical called Agent Orange. Now, you may have heard that word before if you ever did history or you watched any of those old Vietnam movies. It's what the American military used during the Vietnam War to defoliate trees. It's a carcinogenic herbicide. And today, you won't believe it, Agent Orange is being sprayed from planes to deliberately defoliate and kill huge portions of the Amazon forest to make way for cattle ranching. And in this herbicide is a substance called dioxin, and dioxin is one of those persistent chemicals that lasts in the soil for up to 15 years and sinks down to the deeper soils and lasts for up to 100 years. So there's no getting rid of it.
Oh.
I'm sorry, now that we've explored a few of the devastating environmental impacts, how about we take a closer look at how living fast and furious in a city like Maximus can impact our own bodies? What do you think, Ian? Your guess, is living the Maximus way good for us?
Nope. It's convenient.
Nope.
Yes, but it's not good. It's not healthy.
Is convenient, and that's why we love it. We love it because it's just made life so easy for us in many ways.
Yeah.
However, And I think everyone out there knows what I'm going to be saying, but I'll say it anyway. As our Tale of Two Cities suggested, the Maximus lifestyle, the fast-paced, high-stress and convenience-driven lifestyle, does take a heavy toll on our bodies. Chronic stress raises cortisol levels, leading to anxiety, heart disease, and a weakened immunity. So you're more prone to getting sick. While sedentary habits, being lazy, and poor diets, eating too much fast food, drive obesity and metabolic issues. Our sleep and our digestive health suffer. Pollution from our urban sprawl impacts our breathing, our respiratory health. And over time, this Maximus lifestyle weakens our resilience, inviting health problems that are preventable and reducing our overall quality of life. And there are plenty of studies to show that. In contrast, on the other side of the coin, the Greensville lifestyle, slow-paced, community-oriented, and sustainable, promotes physical and mental well-being. We've got lower stress levels and ample social connections that support our heart health. They reduce anxiety and they strengthen our immune function. This kind of active living in clean air with plant-based, locally or heavily plant-based, maybe not completely, locally sourced diets encourage a healthy weight, good digestion, and higher energy levels. We find in Greensville there's quality sleep and access to the resilience you get from being in nature more often. And there's also a strong sense of community, which leads to improved mental health and overall life satisfaction. So in a nutshell, this lifestyle nurtures a balanced, healthier body and a happier, more connected life. Cha-ching! Now, of course, I'm aware that none of us are actually living in Maximus or Greensville. These are made-up cities. And yes, these are idyllic lifestyles or quite the opposite. And I also realize the importance of a balanced approach to life rather than choosing one extreme or another. But I'm pleased to report that in real life, we are starting to see strong signs that more of society is starting to wake up to the consequences of our life choices. Maybe not so much in America, but maybe in other parts of the world. And there are people shifting away from Maximus's supersize me, winner takes all kind of approach towards a less is more, small is sexy mentality, which we find in cities that tend to be more like Greensville. And I'll give you a few examples and indicators of this shift in case you are interested. So, in contrast to some of the yellow perils we see in Maximus type politics, and I think I know who you know who I'm talking about, in recent times we've actually seen some formidable and female leaders in place, like the former prime ministers of Iceland and Finland and New Zealand, who were recognized for their more balanced, sustainable approach to national progress, advocating for things like work-life balance, gender equality, social welfare, and environmental protection, which I think we agree is quite a contrast to what we see in other parts of the world. We've got countries that have become quite famous, like Bhutan, high up in the Himalayas, whose famous gross national happiness index prioritizes their citizens' well-being over economic growth, which most countries measure, which is GDP. They've got a gross national happiness index, which has got a lot of coverage over the years. We've also got phenomena which you've probably heard of, like the blue zones, which are very much like Greensville. They're areas where community time and natural movement and purposeful living are prioritized by the residents, leading to them living longer, healthier, and happier lives, often well into their hundreds. There's a show on Netflix you can watch, and it's quite remarkable. But it's not just the oldies. We're seeing many people in our younger generations, our millennials and Gen Zs, speaking out more and actually expecting their employers to have more transparent, purpose-driven values. So what we're seeing with a lot of these younger generations is instead of obsessing over accumulating wealth or status symbols, which tended to be the case with the youth maybe 20 years ago or longer, 30, 40 years ago, these younger generations tend to value experiences and things like self-expression and community connectedness, which is good to see. And with that, we're also seeing a rise in something called the slow movement. These are trends like slow food, which I've mentioned, slow fashion, and slow travel. Slow food, as you know, focuses on locally and sustainably sourced meals, which are often organic or regeneratively grown. Slow fashion emphasizes durable or ethically made clothes that avoid these rapid seasonal trends, unlike, I think we know a couple of Asian brands that I shall not mention, but you know the ones that I'm talking about. And even slow travel. What we're seeing, especially in Europe, where they've got the infrastructure in place, is that people are choosing not to fly, which obviously comes with quite a substantial carbon footprint, but they're taking trains. Especially for holiday purposes. And just the experience is amazing, being able to sit in a train to go from one European city to another, look out the window and see all the beautiful scenery and just relax and read a book and sleep, whatever you want to do, eat. So I think slow travel is also really picking up, and it's a trend that I'm following. And part of that as well is people starting to value quality and craftsmanship over speed and mass production. So like we mentioned in Greensville, there's that growing demand for handmade artisanal products rather than that ghastly plastic junk that is always designed to break in the first 5 minutes. We're seeing farmers markets, craft fairs, microbreweries, and food trucks gaining popularity because people are wanting more to support their local communities. And at the same time, the bonus is they get to reduce their environmental footprint. What other movements can I mention? Minimalism is also still pretty popular. You don't have to be Marie Kondo and throw everything away out of your wardrobe. But the idea is that fewer possessions and less clutter can lead to a simpler, happier life.
Yep.
And another trend I just adore, I don't know if you've seen on social media, tiny homes, Jan.
Oh, yeah.
They are just too cute. Tiny homes and downsizing also growing in popularity. And it is incredible how much you can fit into one of those tiny little caravan-y homes. But it's helping people reduce their physical burdens, their financial burdens, and their planetary burdens. So, and some of the brands are coming on board with this idea. I mean, we've got brands like Patagonia, which has gotten a lot of airtime for some of the way that the choices that they've made, and they've had ads saying, "Do not buy our products," because they want you to repair the old jackets you bought from them. IKEA, which is quite a traditional brand that aims to be sustainable, and Fairphone, which is actually a cell phone that can be upgraded and repaired, and it's fully sort of modular. It's pretty cool. I don't think we can get it here in South Africa yet, but these are products that are being designed to be reused or repaired or recycled, and that's what every product designer should be looking for these days. And then something else, I guess, which I'll slip in there, is the 4-day work week. Companies and countries around the world are experimenting with the 4-day work week. If you look in the news, there have been some very interesting country trials of late where they've announced their results, and they've been really positive. I think Germany was one of them, and there are a couple of other countries that are busy trialing because they involve things like more flexible schedules and hybrid setups. It's encouraging basically better balance between work and life. And myself, I participated in the very first South African trial of the 4-day week program. So I've experienced this shift up close and personal, where quality of life is valued over this perpetual growth, productivity at all costs kind of thing. So if anyone wants to chat to me about that, I certainly can. So Yeah, in a nutshell, Ian, all these trends are indicating that despite our many, many, many challenges, society, I think, is beginning to favor a more balanced, mindful, and slower approach to living, like the imaginary citizens of our dear old Greensville. So, what do you think, Ian? Are you hopeful that we can turn things around and start maybe recovering from our addiction to our Maximus lifestyle?
We can only hope, Julia, especially in certain parts of the world, where it is still possible to do so. I think it might be too late for places like, especially America, New York City, where they can't live without a Maximus lifestyle. But you do know that there is actually a real-life Greensville here in South Africa, hey? Like, it's not the name, but the city is the town is very similar.
Oh, tell me. Where is it?
You want to know now? No, because you see, when you described Greensville now, you basically described Sedgefield in the Garden Route. That's
wow.
That town is 99% of what you said there. It's also, it's grown a bit, they added more houses because of how popular it is, but the slow lifestyle, especially the farmers market, there's the Wild Oats farmers market every Saturday morning. That place is packed. It's all organic, very slow lifestyle. In fact, Sedgefield won Slow Town of the Year a couple of years ago, which is part of the slow movement. So Greensville could very well be Sedgefield in the Garden Route, Julia.
Well, sign me up. It sounds amazing. I've been to Sedgefield, but I haven't spent much time there. But it definitely sounds like I will have to. So that will be put on my slow travel.
You should.
Wish list. I'll take a slow road trip down to go visit Sedgefield, and maybe the people from Sedgefield can contact E-Radio and share some of their experiences of what it's like to live in a real Greensville kind of town. But thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely gonna check them out. It's good to know. I think South Africa is often, we might be seen as being stuck here in the bottom of Africa, but I think we're actually sometimes way ahead of the game in some areas. So yay, South Africa, keep it up.
I agree.
Good. Well, I think that's more than enough from me today. So thank you for having me again. And I think that's all I will burden your E-Radio listeners with this week. But I guess just reminding listeners, by all means, please interact with us, send in questions, send in comments, or even requests if there are specific topics that you would like us to cover in the next few weeks on the Flourishing Friday podcast. So thanks, Ian.
Big thanks to you, Julia. A wonderful story that you've got there today. And you certainly know how to write. You really, you created this picture in my mind, the way you were describing the two cities. It was crazy. Very well done. Good writer.
Yes. Thanks, Ian. The joys of storytelling. Everyone loves a good story.
It's beautiful. Yes. Thank you so much. And then give us your website again, Julia, your online contacts.
Yep, it's an easy one. It's www.thecircularstage.com, and all my contact details are on there, as well as a contact form. Otherwise, you're very welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just look for Julia Tew. I don't think there are many of us, and I'm very happy to connect and start a conversation. So, I'd love to hear from some of you.
And that's Tew, not Chew, like Chinese or something.
No, as far as I know, I don't think there is any Asian in me. It would be very exciting if I discovered some. But no, I think the family tree is very specific, and that's Tew. So,
Excellent.
Quite unusual.
Flourishing Friday for this week, and then next week we'll do it again. Thank you so much, Julia, and I hope you're going to have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you. And you too, Ian.
Thank you.
Hang in there. Okay.
Thanks.
Cheers.